Aprilia wanted to write the rules of 2027. Right now, it is watching its own rule collapse. The single bike in practice, the cost cut the whole grid supposedly wanted, the plan with Aprilia's fingerprints all over it, and this week, the manufacturers who shook on it went quiet, and the riders who would have to live with it reached for one word in private: madness. So how does the team that championed the reset end up the most exposed when it falls apart? And what did the rest of the grid see in this idea that Aprilia either missed or hoped nobody would say out loud? This is not a small paperwork change about garages and tyres. 2027 is the biggest technical reset MotoGP has run in years. New engine rules, new aero, new everything, and the single bike question is the first real fight over who controls that reset. Whoever shapes how teams practice shapes how fast they can develop. That is the part that got buried under the word cost, because the moment you look at who pushed this and who quietly refused to follow, the cost story stops making sense, and it starts looking like something Aprilia would very much prefer you not notice. Here is the actual proposal, because the detail matters. From 2027, each rider would run a single bike through Friday and Saturday practice. The second machine gets pushed to the back of the box or into the truck, and it only comes back out for the Saturday sprint and the Sunday race. On paper, it sounds tidy. Fewer bikes running, fewer parts, fewer people, lower mileage on expensive prototypes. Aprilia put the idea on the table, Ducati backed it, and it got sold to everyone as the responsible thing to do. And the number they attached to it was real enough to sound serious. Roughly €1.5 million saved per team, per season, mostly from smaller crews and less prototype mileage. Say it like that in a room full of accountants and it wins every time. It was even rebranded to sound harmless. First the World SBK rule, then the softer second bike limitation. A couple of Grands Prix ago this looked locked. The manufacturers had effectively shaken hands on it, and then the people who make this sport actually move, the riders, started doing the math on what one bike really costs. And it was not money. Start with the riders, because they saw the danger before anyone signed anything. Pedro Acosta did not hedge. "It's a really bad idea," he said, and then he laid out why. One bike means one crash can end your whole weekend before it properly starts. Go down in the opening session, which is easy because you are still on harder tyres and cold rubber, and you can wreck the only bike you have. Crash in warm-up on Sunday morning, and you might not make the race at all. No spare to run to, no second chance. A Friday mistake priced at an entire Grand Prix. And this is the part that got very little airtime. This was never really a cost meeting. The single bike idea started life as leverage. A chip Aprilia and Ducati could push across the table while the manufacturers fight MotoGP's commercial owners for a bigger slice of the 2027 to 2031 money. Cut a cost here, demand a payment there. And, oh yeah, there is one more part of this. The teams quietly happy with the idea, its opponents say, are the ones most confident they will start 2027 with the fastest bike. Less practice means less time for everyone else to catch up. Freeze the picture while you are ahead. Then listen to who spoke up inside Aprilia's own garage. Jorge Martin, riding for the manufacturer that authored the rule, said plainly, "I'd like to have two bikes, honestly. When your own signing will not sell your idea, the idea has a problem." Then the bosses and the riders pulled the other thread, the show. Guenther Steiner, now a MotoGP team boss himself, said he was not even sure what the saving really was, and then got to the part that stung. We steal from the show for the spectators. And who is the most important part of any sport? The fans. Then Honda's Luca Marini painted the picture. One of the best things is to see a rider crash in qualifying, run and jump on the other bike and make pole position. Kill the spare, and you kill that. No dash to the garage. No second bike pole. And in a wet flag-to-flag race, where riders swap machines entirely, the format starts to fall apart. But the plan did not die on safety or spectacle. It died on politics. Because when the manufacturers shook hands a couple of rounds ago, Nobody actually signed anything with legal weight. It was a handshake, not a contract. And KTM, which had softened just enough to look like a yes, walked into Assen and turned back into a hard no. That single reversal broke the unanimity the rule needed to even reach the Grand Prix Commission. Honda had already parked itself on the fence, happy to back whatever the majority wanted. The independent teams saw no benefit at all. Suddenly, the majority Aprilia thought it had was gone. So here is where the story turns, because the pattern underneath is bigger than one rule. Look at how this was built. A cost label on the outside, a development freeze on the inside, a handshake instead of a signature, so the whole thing depended on nobody changing their mind. That is not how you pass a rule you believe in. That is how you push a rule you are trying to slip through before anyone reads the fine print. People thought this was a story about saving money. It was really a story about control, about one manufacturer trying to lock the shape of 2027 before the grid could vote on it honestly. And the reason it collapsed is the most revealing part. It did not fall to a rival's counter-proposal. It fell because the moment the pressure was real, Aprilia could not hold its own coalition together. Ducati stayed close, but KTM walked, Honda shrugged, the independents refused, and Aprilia's own rider said he wanted the exact thing Aprilia was trying to take away. That is the flip. This was never Aprilia leading the paddock. It was Aprilia getting out in front and turning around to find almost nobody behind it. So, what does the collapse actually tell us? It tells us Aprilia spent political capital it did not have. You only get to be the manufacturer that writes the rules if the room follows you, and this room did not. Aprilia put its name on the single bike, sold it as generosity, and when the grid pushed back, it was left holding an idea its own garage would not defend. That is not a small thing in a paddock where credibility is currency. The next time Aprilia proposes something, everyone in that room remembers this. And the rule is not even dead yet. It goes to Silverstone in a few weeks for what is supposed to be a final verdict. And MotoGP being MotoGP, a watered-down version could still crawl through. But the damage to Aprilia is already done, and it is separate from whether one bike ever happens. Because the paddock just watched Aprilia try to steer the sport and lose the wheel in public. The manufacturers saw it. The riders said it out loud. Whatever gets decided at Silverstone, the real result already landed. Aprilia reached for control of 2027, and 2027 reached back. Aprilia set out to write the rule everyone would follow, and wrote itself into a corner instead. So what would you do? Keep two bikes and the chaos we love, or cut to one and call it progress? Let us know in the comments below. And once you do that, make sure to click on the video appearing on your screen right now.